So hi, Mio. Welcome to another episode of Word Culture or Cultura de la Palabra, which is an online weekly podcast that I just started in April. Wondering about, the CV times and what are we doing, and it's a kind of a structured way to connect with the people that I'm inspired by, and you're one of them. And
Thank you.
I would like you to please introduce yourself and let me know what is it that your organization does.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Mia Santana, and I'm the founder of Divine Journey, which is a transformational program. And we do workshops and coaching programs for people who want to transform their lives from within. So I work a lot with vibration and energy and balancing the energies within yourself so then you can improve the relationships you have with others and the experience that you have in your life to take yourself from A to Z. So I'm super excited about this work. I've been doing workshops of this nature for a little more than 2 years now. And I do workshops for men and for women. So for both, and it's been amazing. It's been really great.
How do you become a coach?
Well, there's a lot of different avenues. I decided to, I was certified as a transformational trainer first and foremost. And then from there, I started coaching from that. So I have a little more than 10 years of experience in transformational work from my own journey. And so I took all of that and I put it into my practice, which is the Divine Journey principles, which is what I base my work off of. The same principles that I used to transform my life from within is what I support others with applying in their life. So I was certified as transformational trainer. I was also certified as a theta healer. And with all the work that I've done over the past 10 years, I apply that into my coaching program.
So tell me a little bit about Divine Journey. Why would you call it like that?
So Divine Journey, it came to me. It was actually almost like a channeling. I don't know. Some people might think that's a little woo-woo, but it's almost like the calling came to me.
Your own,
my own story. Yeah.
You own it.
Yeah. So, I believe that everything that you've experienced, everything you've been through, whether it was good or bad, the ups, the downs, the circumstances, the consequences, the problems, everything that led you to where you are sitting right there, right now, in this present moment is divine, because it led you to where you are in this moment. So therefore, it is your divine journey. And that's what I'm here to help everyone see, is the divinity within their own journey.
I love the idea of journey. Because honestly, I think life is more a journey than anything, right? And we are learning how to navigate. So tell me about good experiences that you have had with, your clients, like results. How do you assess your, impact with the community, with the people that you work with?
Yeah, well, the way I assess, I always do feedback surveys on all of my work. And I mean, the responses that I've gotten have been pretty much across the board. People having aha moments, people having moments where they shift from one perspective that was a very limiting belief, that they thought that, their consequences, like this was the end for them, let's say, and they just completely shifted that from one perspective and were able to see that there's another opportunity. And so they were able to heal the relationship they have with their father, or heal the relationship they have with their partner, or heal the relationship they have with themselves. A lot of work also has to do around like the inner child that we carry. So like being able to heal that within yourself as well. And so a lot of people come for self-love, to create more self-love for themselves, and they get results. So every person is different. It's not like a cookie cutter where I say, okay, this is the program and we have to stick to exactly this format. It's more like every person has their life, their journey, like you said, and we go with that journey, and we go where you are right now, and we take you to where you want to be.
Great. I love that. Tell me, how come being such a young and beautiful person?
Thank you.
I love, no, and I was telling also Suja, I love my friends that are young, driven by a purpose, by a mission, and that are helping other people. And I found that you are guys millennials. So it's kind of contradictory, all these things that you hear about, oh, these millennials, this and that, which I think is kind of a generational reaction to people. But I honestly have to say that I admire my millennial friends because, guys, you're doing a lot. I think you're helping. You're driven by mission, by purpose. You're looking around you. What is it that you can do to improve your circumstances, to help other people? And I guess you help yourself in the process. How do you tell me about this? How do you, what do you get from this experience personally and professionally?
Absolutely. And that's a great question because we find that the greatest teachers are the greatest students. So, you know, the way that we do our work, or that I do my work, is through learning at the same time and through my own experience, because I can only teach you what I've experienced myself. And I can only teach you from the truth of my reality. And so if I am just trying to teach you something that's in a book, then I should be a teacher at a classroom. You know what I mean? Like I'm teaching out of my own journey, out of my own experience. And then that's why it's authentic. And that's why it's real. Like we as human beings, we learn through stories. So if I can share my story of my transformation, then that can click with a person and help them as well transform. Because we learn within community, we learn within stories, we learn within sharing with each other. Look, I did this, don't do that. That's a, you know, that will take you down a bad path. Take this path, I took this path, and then we help each other and we grow. Something you mentioned about the millennials, which is really interesting, is that there's a certain energy right now that's happening in the environment that's a different type of energy that we've experienced in many hundreds of years. And so I think that's what you're seeing in people, that we are actually connecting with our inner self and with our purpose and taking that forward, rather than just be like kind of like turned off, like with the light turned off. You know, we're more like out there active, like engaging our gifts, engaging our inner purpose to make the difference that we can in the world.
I love that. And it's inspiring, especially in places like Miami. No, we have talked about it. Tell me, how does your work relates to, let's say, the quality of life or the composition of the community here in Miami? Because we have quite a, I would say, an interesting community, right? It's very diverse. We
Yes.
are kind of isolated. We live, you know, from each other. So how do you deal with the, let's say, the external challenges or possibilities that Miami provides as a, you know, Latino city?
Yes. Well, you know, Miami is like the island of the United States. You know, it's like in the United States, but it's like its own island. It's like its own world. You know, South Florida has a very distinct and diverse culture. You have, you know, international cultures from all over the world, people that expatriates that come here and set up lives here. We have pockets of different, you know, cultures: the Haitian, the African American, the Cuban, the Dominican, Venezuelan, I mean, Ecuadorian. I mean, the list goes on. We have everything represented here. And so, and we also have like the space, like you said, like Miami proper is very small, excuse me, very small compared to what we think Miami is, where we have like these suburbs and these pockets of places where people live very, very distant from each other. And so, you know, Miami has been going through almost like a renaissance over the past, you know, 20, 30 years, where a lot has changed, a lot has evolved in Miami. And we are now becoming a more proactive city. We're becoming a more perceptive, more conscious awareness city. Like people are becoming more aware of recycling, of, you know, treating the environment better, of, you know, accessing our parks and accessing nature. You know, we live in a city that everyone drives a car because of the distances. So people are learning now how, you know, maybe to carpool or to use electric cars, or, you know, just to improve like our quality of life and to really take care of the nature that we have here. We're so blessed in this environment to have all the beautiful water and nature and trees and grass. And, you know, a lot of other cities don't have that. And so we have a very unique opportunity right now to really, you know, take care of our environment and take care of our surroundings. And so I think a lot of people are waking up to that.
Let me ask you something else, which I think is really important, especially among Latino communities, which is something that I think you work a lot with. It has to do with the female voice. And I
Mhm.
love that you're always encouraging in every meeting that I have been, of your work and with your friends, you are always encouraging the female voice. And I love that because I think it's so important and necessary. Why is that a focus in your work?
Great question. Well, I feel that now in history, we are facing a very unique time for women, for the woman. And over the last 2,000 years, or almost 3,000 years, we've been experiencing a patriarchal society. And it stems from, ancient times, from when, modern religion
What
took
do you mean
place.
by that for people that are not familiar with that? A patriarchal society.
A patriarchal society is a society that's male dominated, that's dominated by the man, and that is, there's a patriarch and the matriarch in the family, let's say the father and the mother. So the patriarchal system is like a system led by the man. And so due to modern religion taking over almost 2,000 to 3,000 years ago, we went into that patriarchal society, and basically the woman was placed like in second place or third place or no place at all. And so because of history, we've had to almost regain our footing as women. And prior to that, the woman was very revered and honored, and the woman was seen as an equal part of the conversation. The woman was at the table making decisions. There were priestesses, there were goddesses, there were queens. Women were in very high positions prior to that time. So we kind of lost that over the two to 3,000 years, where women were kind of put down and put out of the way. And the woman is very, very crucial to the betterment of society, to the betterment of community.
Why do you think that? Tell me.
For many reasons, and there's like physiological, psychological reasons, but then there's also like more like magical kind of intuitive reasons. And so back in time, in tribal times, let's say, the woman was integral to the tribe. So the men would go out and hunt, and the women would be making the food, making the clothing, making the all the things that needed for the tribe. And so with the woman, the group of women would say, this winter we need 12 buffalo to take us through the winter. So go and kill 12 buffalo, and the men would say, okay, got it. And they would go and they would kill the 12 buffalo, and they would come back. And that's how they would go through the winter. And that intuition, that knowing of what is needed for the society, of what is needed for the community, is something that a woman instinctually holds within herself. The woman is the place of the womb. The woman holds the womb. So not only metaphorically is the place of creation, but also physically is the place of creation. So if the woman is whole and complete, then the community is whole and complete. And so that's why it's so important for my work. But also, I'm very big on, and this, I'm very big on talking about the man and masculinity and the masculine energy. And that is also very important to creation. They're both as important to each other, as important to each other for creation. So if one is not whole and complete, it affects the other one. And if the other one's not whole and complete, it affects the other one. So both have to be, fully balanced, harmonized, fulfilled, nurtured for the creation to grow and for there to be peace and harmony in the community.
One thing that I love a lot about your work is what you have been doing with circles of people and the idea of the divine feminine and divine masculine. And I would like you to explain or talk a little bit about it, because I think it's really very important to discover or to be aware of those energies and to work with them in our favors. What can you say about it?
Yeah, so a lot of people are talking about the feminine and masculine energy these days. It's become like a very hot topic, a trendy word, a trendy concept. A lot of people are talking about it, but it's actually a very ancient study and practice that has been around for thousands of years, even from, ancient Chinese philosophy of the yin and yang, the Tao Te Ching.
Astrology talks a lot about all this stuff.
Astrology, even the Hermetic principles of ancient Greece and Egypt. All these are in the writings of those ancient, those ancient scriptures. And it basically comes, it comes down to the fact that everything in the universe is permeated by feminine and masculine energy. And when I say feminine and masculine energy, I'm not talking about male and female. It's not gender or sex based. It's an energy. So the masculine energy it's a bestowing energy. It's an energy that is action, that goes and gets, that, moves things forward to get the creation done. And the feminine energy is a more intuitive energy. It's an energy that holds space. It's an energy that incubates, that is able to hold the creation and have the creation come forth. So both energies are important to each other. The masculine energy represents day. The feminine energy represents night. It's an ebb and a flow that happens in the universe. It happens all throughout every natural phenomenon, all throughout nature, and every animal interaction, and it happens within ourselves. So within ourselves, like a woman has masculine energy within herself as well as feminine. And within a man has feminine energy within himself as well as masculine. Carl Jung used to call it the anima and the animus. So he believed that a woman had a male inside her and a man had a female inside her. And that is why we are like a perfect match. Like, and no matter if you're not, if you don't self-identify as a woman or identify as a man, it's a match of the energies. So, you could have two self-identifying women together, and one can be masculine energy and the other can be feminine energy, and that works.
Is it like what is predominant at the moment? Because that changed, right? Energies change all the time, I bet, right? The balance of energies?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't understand your question. Say that one more time.
No, what I'm saying is that I'm trying to figure out like kind of a balance, because energies for me is movement, no? It's
yes.
Heat and movement. It's vibration and movement.
Yes.
And I'm trying to think that when you're talking about the feminine or masculine, we're not talking about half, or we're talking about predominance of one energy more than the other through times, right? There are moments we feel more feminine, there are moments we feel more masculine. And I bet it happens to everyone, right?
Exactly.
But I have to say that I personally love, and this is nothing to take wrong, men who show their feminine side. I connect with that so much. Because that's something that is missing,
Yes, and that is actually the divine masculine. That's what they call the divine masculine. And that is when the man is able to embrace his feminine energy, and that makes him whole, and that makes him actually more powerful. And because he's accessing his feminine energy doesn't mean that he's accessing femininity, because a divine masculine man is very manly. He's very empowered. He's strong. He knows where he stands. He's a very direct man. He represents what a man is, but he's able to access his feminine energy, which is his sense of nurturing, his sense of equality, his honoring of others, his self-love, his love for others. Like, he's able to access these energies that come from the feminine energy, and it makes him whole and complete. And so when you experience a man like that, he's not incomplete. He's whole. He's filled up with himself. He's happy. He's complete. So it's a whole other experience. And the same if you experience a woman that's in her divine feminine and is able to embrace the masculine, it's the same phenomenon.
I really like it because I think we as modern subjects have been so much subjected to narratives, specific narratives or mandatory narratives on how to be a man or how to be a woman, that really have nothing to do with the reality of life and the fluidity of life and the fluidity of who we are and our genres and how we act in life. So the fact that, we can recognize that we can operate with these two flows, let's say, of energy, I really think it's important.
Exactly. And I base a lot of my work, I talk about deconstructing the gender roles and expectations from society, which is so important because you're right, Eva, like through hundreds of years, we've conditioned ourselves that a man is supposed to look this way and a woman is supposed to look this way. A man is supposed to do these things and a woman is supposed to do these things.
Social, you're supposed to act certain ways, which I hate. As a woman, What is expected
Exactly.
as a woman, for me being a woman, I hate it. I don't agree with that.
Exactly. And all of that is being broken down right now. So now we see a whole new movement of women and men that are not choosing to be in a certain gender, that are not choosing to live in a certain, restricted expectation. I mean, 100 years ago, maybe less than 100 years ago, the color pink was considered a male color, and the color blue was considered a female color. So back in the day when babies were being born and it was a girl, she would have a blue room.
Yeah.
And so, but now we look at that and we're like, oh no, the boy has to have a blue room. And so
That's
this
a very
is
spoiled thing of
conditioning
that
that
exist in many places, to start with.
It's just like inherited from societal conditioning that we take on as we inherit it through time. And so now all of that is being,
think about it, to try to to diminish or to represent the diversity of so many men and women in only two colors.
right.
The most boring thing ever.
Exactly.
I understand why it happened. We tend to do that. We, as human beings, try to look for icons or representation symbols that we can relate to and can talk about it. So we can use to talk about ourselves, but still.
Yeah, but we're seeing now as a society that doesn't work for us anymore. So we're seeing women that are more flexible and aware about what they want and how they want to look and how they want to dress and act, and men as well. We see the transgender movement. We see a lot of different gender identities coming up. And so, it's a blank slate right now. There's so much creation happening in that. And I'm super excited for it because it really allows us to be free and to share ourselves and to express ourselves in a natural way.
And I guess with institutions that are kind of classic that we have been dealing with our whole life and we don't even know sometimes what to do with them, like marriage, I think we're in a better place to be more honest about it. Because especially as a woman, I find really difficult the fact that I know so many people that as a woman, they think that the right thing to do is to be married or to, and I have nothing against it, but I'm saying, why do you marry?
Right.
Why do you marry? Because you're afraid that you are told that you need to marry because you need to have somebody that represents you and provide for you, and you have to be the supportive person. Or what are you doing it for? Love? Are you doing it for comfort? I mean, it's not that I care about other people's life, but I don't know. I've come to realize certain things that I think are important, at least to explore, right?
Absolutely. And the concept of marriage is something that has been in the conversation a lot lately because a lot of people are questioning it. So in history, the reason why the marriage structure was created was to create wealth and to create alliances.
An economic institution, historically.
It was an economic institution. It was, let me marry my daughter to your son so that we can join lands and join power and be more economically empowered and safe. And so it was created as a structure.
It's a temporary institution, it has not always existed.
It has not always existed, exactly. So now we're experiencing something in the community where we see that we're now marrying for love. So I think the question that you're asking is like really asking yourself, why are you getting married? Are you getting married because of societal expectations and because of conditioning that you inherited, or are you getting married because you really want to spend the rest of your life with this partner and experience that union? So I think it's a personal question for each person to experience, but now, especially in history, we're seeing that those marriage structures are being broken down and reconstructed so that people can find more freedom. And there's so many different types of relationships now. There's open relationships. There's, people are really communicating as to what their needs are in the relationship so then they can have the type of relationship they want. Because what happened with marriage structure is that a lot of people were forced into these structures that didn't work for them. So then that created divorce. And so we've seen divorce numbers skyrocket throughout the years. And so now we're realizing that those structures may not work for us. So now it's a chance to make a different decision.
And I like also the fact that those structures are also accompanied by a lot of prejudice and a lot of assumptions that are used to judge people that do not comply with those social practices. So
right.
And I'm thinking about, people like me, like you, like we are kind of by ourselves. We are women, we are independent, we are doing our thing. So you know. And it's difficult sometimes. I don't know if it happened to you. I told you about to relate to people that are not in your same reality, or for those people to relate to you because they see you as I don't know what, a
An
threat.
outlier.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Like I'm not here to threaten anyone. I'm just exploring my own path, you know. And luckily and hopefully, it's a path of freedom, of search, of learning. But it's not to oppose to anyone or to compete with
Right.
anyone. It's just my own personal, no. But I can see that a lot of people are. You can feel that get offended just by you being yourself. Do
Yeah,
you
and there's a
think that?
lot of that. Absolutely. There's a lot of that. There's a herd mentality, you know, and like a kind of like a critical mass where like when the herd, when the group, a group of people feel or think a certain way, anybody that thinks differently is looked like poorly upon or like outcasted or something. And that's a phenomenon that happens with groups of people when they come together. So as a society, we get to look at that and see where our judgments lie and how we're treating each other as human beings. Because I agree with you. I mean, I think every human being is free to choose and to elect the things they want to do with their bodies, on their bodies, outside of their bodies. You know, I think every human being deserves that freedom. So we get to look at that as a society and see where we're judging each other.
Yeah, and I like also something that I've learned with you guys is that to consider judgment for me as an act of kind of violence, honestly. And we judge all the time, but I am trying to judge less because I think honestly, when you uh, impose or you express an opinion about something that you don't know, or a person or whatever, you know, you are doing something that can have consequence. No.
Yeah. So, you know, judgment is a very touchy subject, and you know, we tend to, as human beings, we tend to judge something that we don't understand or that we don't accept or that we think is different. And what happens is there's that saying that says, when you're pointing at something, turn the finger and point at you. You know, we ourselves are responsible for what's in our environment. So, you know, we as a society, we're so like, and I think we're going to talk about this in a minute when we, I guess, when we talk about, you know, what's going on in the environment now, but like this victim consciousness that we're in. And so when you're in victim consciousness, you think that everything comes from outside of you. You think that, you know, people are out to get you, that everything is, you know, against you. And so you're always constantly judging and, you know, pointing the finger and pointing blame at others, when in reality, you should be pointing the finger at yourself. You know, don't throw rocks when you live in a glass house. You know, it's a very old, you know, story, but it's true. It's, you know, really look at yourself first before you look at someone else to criticize or blame or judge, because what you're seeing in your surroundings is a direct representation of what's inside of you.
Let's talk a little bit about what is going on now, right? I think we have been talking about it without mentioning because we're living in it. But how are you handling this situation, the COVID, 19 crisis? How is it affecting you personally, professionally, and how are you dealing with it? What would you recommend to other people? I mean, in general, not according to your practice, to how to deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we're experiencing an unprecedented moment in history. I mean, you know, none of us could have been prepared for this, or even if you had a manual to prepare, you wouldn't be prepared, because it's just so, you know, so different and so nuanced and so, you know, so intricate with all the different layers of what's going on. And so, you know, I think for me, it's been a matter of focusing on what really matters and focusing on what's important, and turning off the noise. You know, there's been a lot of like panic and hysteria going on, and a lot of, you know, running around and crazy, and, you know, and so when you tap into that, and when we talk about vibration, when you tap into that, it affects your vibration. So your energy gets zapped, your vibration goes down, and you start to feel bad. And so what I've been able to do from the very beginning, because I'm so aware of this work, is I've been able to tune into the news on a certain period of time when I needed it, like for an hour, let's say in the middle of the day, I would check the news. So I would block it in times that I wanted to access it. And then everything else, I would turn it off and continue with my work. And so I've been developing my work. I've been concentrating on my work, and just, you know, being cognizant, taking care of others. You know, I'm taking care of my elderly aunt who's immunocompromised. So being able to go get her, you know, her supplies and take care of her around, you know, things around the house and things like that. So, you know, just making sure that the people you love are okay, and staying focused, and drowning out the noise. Just the main thing is just maintaining an even keel without letting the hysteria and the pandemic bring down your vibration.
Interesting. And what do you think is going to be or is our challenge collectively, you know, moving forward?
Yeah. So collectively, I think our greatest challenge is going to be accepting that we're not successful without each other. And so, you know, we're coming out of this like era of hundreds of years of competitive industry, you know, of just, you know, I want to get to the top, push everyone aside, you know, and let me get forward. I need to take care of my family. I need to take care of my kids, everyone else.
No matter what,
do or die. And it's me against them. And so we're so ingrained in that culture that now I think the biggest challenge is going to be for us to see that we survive when we're together. We succeed when we build each other up and when we support each other. So the biggest thing that we've been able to learn from this pandemic is that we need community. We need each other's support. We need to connect with each other. We need to take care for each other. We need to, you know, help each other. And so I think the biggest challenge is going to be setting our egos aside and our old conditionings of society, and embracing the fact that, you know, the tribe is what's needed, is to help each other, to support each other, to push each other up instead of bringing each other down. And I think we're on that path.
That is so important, I think. You know, this idea of living in society, in community, meaning to support each other up, not just being not happy because somebody's doing better than me. No. Oh, I'm happy because somebody's doing better than me. I want to do that too. And I want to find out how to do it, but whatever, regardless, you know, it's very good to share happiness, to share good feelings, because we're so used to share bad stuff, like bad karma, bad energy, but we are not so into like, and I see that because lately I'm practicing, let's say, if I like something, I say it, you know, and I could make your day. If you're beautiful and I see you're beautiful today, and I tell you, I know it's going to be good for you, and it does good to me. Why not? You know, doing that kind of, it's a practice, right? Okay. Thank you so much. And one last question that I wanted to ask you is about Las Comadres. And I really would like to thank you for introducing me to this group. It's a group of women. Tell me about them, because I really love them. I love they have like lunch breaks during middays every day. And I think they have been the best thing for me that has happened in the coronavirus time has been, you know, these meetings of this woman and experiencing that, honestly. Tell me about it. What do they do?
Las Comadres is an amazing organization of women business owners. And so it was founded by two women business owners a couple of years ago, and it's a membership organization. So, you know, you get your membership, you join, and it's a collection of women that are from all different types of industries that support each other, that help each other, that, you know, and it's all business related to help you grow your business. And even if you don't have a business, if you have an idea, or even if you think that you want to maybe have a business one day, or even if you just want to be around business women, if you work for a corporation, but you want to be around business women that speak your language. I mean, this organization is so impactful. And so during the coronavirus, we got together. I'm on the administrative team, and so we decided that we were going to do this series of lunch breaks to provide really informative knowledge to the community from all the women in our community. So based on a topic, we would get the women that were specialists in that industry and talk about the topic. So we would do panels and bring like 3 or 4 or 5 women together to talk about that and share their expertise. So it was really successful. It really created a lot of great content for the community to use to navigate these times. you know, and I'm very honored and happy to be able to be a part of the organization. They're actually open for enrollment now for like a couple weeks. So
People
if
who would
anyone,
like to consider it, where do they go?
lascomadres.club is the website.
Shop?
Club. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you so much, Mio. Thank you for accepting the invitation. And it really has been a pleasure, as always, to talk to you and to get to know a little bit more about what you do. Be safe,
Absolutely.
okay?
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I think this is a great platform that you're creating for people. And I honor you and I thank you, Eva. Thank you so much.
Take care. Ciao.
Okay.